Okay, first things first, if you think you're suffering from depersonalization, derealization, I imagine your anxiety is really high and you're not feeling so good right now. Don't worry, we will get you sorted, I promise. But I want you out of here, the limbic system, and up here in your prefrontal cortex. I need you more calm than perhaps you are. So if that's you, we're going to do a quick breathing exercise that really gets my shit squared away. And I think it could help you too. It's called square breathing, and then we're going to get into the meat of this video, okay? So it goes like this. We're going to breathe in through our nose for 2 seconds. We're going to hold it for 2 seconds. We're going to exhale out of our mouth for 2 seconds. And then we're going to wait to take another breath for 2 more seconds. Belly breathing. Fill your belly with air. Here we go. Breathe in. Rinse and repeat. Let's talk about DP. And let's figure out if you have it. What's going on, guys? My name is Noah, and for the relevance of this video, I am a DPDR survivor. I'm someone who had a major traumatic experience that was coupled with a panic attack, and that panic attack put me, among other things, into a very, very dissociated state. Now, I didn't have a name for what I was experiencing for a very, very long time, but in such a terrible state of dissociation and derealization, I did a lot of research and found out that it was DP. So I made a video talking about what depersonalization feels like for me. I think I did a pretty good job at verbalizing what I was going through. Suffice it to say, it is a very, very scary state to be in. My goal for this video is not to determine if you have it. My goal is to give you some tools and some feedback to help you determine if you don't. And I will explain. So link in the description if you want to see my description of what DPDR feels like. But before we get ahead of ourselves, there are a lot of experiences we can have that can lead to minor and sometimes I would say relatively moderate feelings of depersonalization, derealization. And if you're an anxious OCD type like me or a ruminator, like you can jump straight to a diagnosis of a major disorder. And I'm going to give you a few things I would like you to do first before you even go there. Before we get to these extremes, let's go first things first. 1, I need you to ask yourself how your sleep schedule has been. How good and effective are your sleep habits? Do you even know what your sleep habits are? Sleep deprivation or sleep debt is one of those things that can absolutely perpetuate a feeling of depersonalization, dissociation, detachment, out of it, blah, dreamlike state. All of these things are made worse by being in poor sleep. If you have bad sleep habits, we'll want you to start there before we go anywhere else. Really take them serious. If you don't know how to have healthy sleep habits, I want you to watch Sean Stevenson. Sleep Smarter is his book. He's got it on audiobook. He also has a podcast called The Model Health Show. He will break it down. That's Sean Stevenson, The Model Health Show, Sleep Smarter. Listen to his podcast on sleep. Address your sleep issues first. 2, I want to make sure that you're not overloaded with caffeine. What is your relationship with stimulants? Caffeine is another one of those things that if you are taking it too much, if you have overabundance of caffeine, that can absolutely make you feel more dissociated. Food. Are you someone who's eating copious amounts of sugar? Don't. I mean, I know it's not that simple, but sugar, especially added sugar, processed sugar, sugar with no other health benefits, is very inflammatory to the body and to the brain. Sleep, caffeine, food, exercise. Are you incorporating any exercise into your life? If not, just make a mental note of that. You should be, and it'll help these things. Another one that I want you to think about is how much weed are you smoking, how much are you drinking, and or are you taking any other drugs? Those will very much mimic depersonalized issues. It's a real thing. And then lastly, stress. Stress and anxiety, it's comorbid with depersonalization, meaning most people with DP struggle with anxiety and stress. So how are you managing your stress? What self-care are you doing to take care of yourself? I'm so good with words. I speak good. I talk well. But you'll want to look into stress management, which usually gets better when you eat better, right? When you're sleeping better, when you're not over-caffeinated, when you have balance. If any of the things I mentioned there are red flags to you, you might just have a lifestyle run awry. And I think it's really important before we start thinking about jumping on pharma meds or declaring ourselves broken, assuming we feel safe, we need to look at things we have massive control over. And those are all things you and I both have control over. Now, some of that stuff might be too big to just change. And that's okay. Maybe you don't know where to start, but awareness is huge. And if you're scared enough and if you're spooked enough about these depersonalized issues that you're going through, and trust me, it is really scary if that's what you're going through, you need to address these things that can mimic depersonalized feelings. Take them very serious. If you're not doing well, you will. I think depersonalization is one of those things that comes about for many of us when we don't have balance. For other people, like me, it came out of that, right? A lack of balance in my life, but a major trauma. I had a paradoxical reaction to a medication. I had a massive panic attack. Boom. I was in a dreamlike depersonalized state for a couple years. Don't let that number go to your head. That was my journey. It's not yours. I think depersonalization is like a defense mechanism. If you're worried you have DP, address those things first. Your sleep, your diet, your exercise, your stress, your caffeine, your drug and alcohol intake. All of these things put together, especially if they're all out of whack at the same time, they're going to mess up your brain chemistry. They're going to mess up the way you think. They're going to mess up your perception of the world. Let's start there. That's all I got for you. I hope you know that anything you heard from me that sounded stern came from a place of love. I needed to talk like this, and I periodically need talks like this whenever I start woeing, whenever I start hurting, whenever I start just verbalizing and constantly expressing not doing well. I sometimes need to be reminded that I have a lot to do with that, and that's okay. That's empowering. I am not a victim. I'm an adult. I'm a grown-ass man, and unless I'm being forced to do something against my will, I 100% am not a victim. I have an opportunity to take responsibility and make changes in my life that will save my life, and you do too. That's all I got. I love you. I care about you. My name is Noah. Hit me up in the comments below. Check out that video where I describe what depersonalization feels like to me, and go address these basic things that for many of us are completely out of whack. And if you do, and you still think you have depersonalization, then maybe you do. Maybe it's time to go see a doctor. Of course, go see one now if you'd like to, but just wanted to give you some basics that you can work on first. And I'm rambling. It's my jam. I'm a rambler. We'll see you guys in the next video. Adios, muchachos and amigos.